I want to talk about something that I think is really important when it comes to fighting games. Maybe just gaming in general, like all sorts of, at least for competitive gaming, right? Or multiplayer PvP gaming. This could probably relate to tons of other types of gaming, but fighting games are having a pretty big renaissance right now. When you think of the big three of fighting games, it's Mortal Kombat, Tekken, and Street Fighter, and they all have new releases, all three of them, right? Some people will like some more than others. Some people will call some trash, and some people will call some lackluster or lukewarm responses, like lukewarm entries into the franchise, right? Huh? What up? How you doing, Elliot? And I think that now is the perfect time to talk about game feel. Not only is the game quality, but how does the game feel, right? Because I've asked a good few people if they're gonna play Tekken, right? Tekken's the new hotness, just came out. Uni 2, smaller fighting game, Under Night In-Birth System Celeste, I think is what it's called. And that just came out as well. And I'm like, hey, are you trying any Uni 2? Are you trying any of the new Under Night? Are you trying any of the new Grand Blue? Any new Tekken? And I'm getting varying responses of these games, right? This could go for even something like a Street Fighter, and I know some people who didn't try the new Street Fighter, and same for Mortal Kombat. I also don't own the new Mortal Kombat. I played it, but I haven't bought it. Now, the reason why I say that is because a lot of the people that I talked to mentioned not liking the feel of said game that they were playing. They didn't like the game feel. They're like, no, the game's like technically sound. It's fine. There's nothing like inherently wrong with the game. But I don't like the way the game feels. And I love that. That's a perfect way to describe any sort of game, right? Like, if you like arena shooters, you might like Unreal Tournament, but not like Halo. You might like the old 007 GoldenEye games, but not like Unreal Tournament, right? This is like a dichotomy of gaming. This is like one of the things that makes gaming so great and so beautiful is that there's so many different kinds of games within the same genre, right? Like card games, for instance. And I'm bringing up card games because I have a card game background. Magic the Gathering is a significantly different game, even though they're both card games and both popular, to something like Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh! Very different, right? Some people will like Magic the Gathering, but won't like Yu-Gi-Oh! Right? While they may have like other insults and other critiques for why they don't like said games, the biggest reason generally is that they don't like the game feel. I am finding myself in that predicament when it comes to Tekken 8. Now, I like Tekken. I paid my $70 for it. I paid it twice, actually, as a matter of fact. One from you, one from my friend. And I don't dislike Tekken 8. I dislike the inherent fundamentals of Tekken. I don't like the game feel of Tekken. But Tekken 8, it's fun to press buttons, mash around, and super duper fun. But I come from a different 3D fighter. I have a 3D fighter in my very immediate background. If you just look a little further back on the channel before I started doing more talk segments, Soul Calibur 6. Soul Calibur in general is probably my most known game, and I was pretty solid at it. I was good enough at it. I also commentated the game a lot. I want to get back into doing some commentary at some point. Just haven't haven't had the time. I like the game feel of Soul Calibur at a base level mechanically more, right? Instead of having the more rigid system of sidestep and backstep that you only use the directional pad for, and the directional pad or analog stick, and you have 4 attack buttons and no block button. You inherently hold back or down back to block things. Something like a Street Fighter almost, right? Because Street Fighter, you hold back or down back to block things. Instead, you have a block button and an 8-way run system where you can walk in any direction, any of the 8 directions, which is really cool. Something you can't do in a game like Tekken. And it makes Soul Calibur, even though it's made by the exact same studio, it's made by Bandai Namco, a different development team internally, Project Soul makes Soul Calibur. And it has a completely different system and a completely different feel, even though it's the same base studio. And they're both 3D fighters, right? Then you think of Tekken's generic defensive mechanics, right? And their chicken parries, which are chickenable. That's why they're called chicken parries. You can press a button behind it to bait out the parry. If I'm not mistaken, I don't know if that's changed in Tekken 8. I haven't checked. And then the low parry, right? So they have defensive options, but they're pretty bad. They're generally low parry is pretty good. Low parry is solid enough, but most of the generic chickenable parries, at least in the older Tekken games, have kind of sucked. They haven't been very good. You need a standard character-specific parry like an Asuka, a Leia, a Jin, a Jun, a Raven to have a good parry. That's just kind of how it's generally going to work. Soul Calibur, on the other hand, has always had one key mechanic that makes it very different. Very different. Guard Impact. Guard Impact has been a series staple. It's been in every game since, I think, Soul Calibur 1. And what it does is it actually just allows you to generically parry highs, mids, and lows, and even throws, depending on the game, because it has changed a lot. But currently in this most recent iteration of Soul Calibur 6, you can parry mids, lows, throws, and highs, all with forward plus guard, which is very cool. And what it does is it just creates another layer on top of defense, right? If you're ever minus, but you're not punishable, you can use this parry to try to extend your turn. You can use the threat of the parry to extend your turn, which is very cool. And when the parry is initiated, it creates like this mind game of, now you've parried, I'm going to try to go for a fast attack that you can parry back, or I'm going to go for a really slow attack that you try to parry it in the break attack. You get guard impact broken, you get impact countered, and you lose a lot of life. You get real bad chunked, right? It almost feels like a crush counter when you get hit by the break attacks trying to GI back, right? Guard impact back, as it were. And that makes the game feel significantly different, right? And now I don't want people to think, whoa, like, are you just ragging on Tekken? Do you not like Tekken? No, I enjoy. I'm having a lot of fun with Tekken, actually. But it just comes down to like core fundamental differences in the way the games work. Soul Calibur, once again, unsafe movement, but smoother movement, right? So it's really a preference thing. Some people won't like that smoother but unsafe movement because at high level, it's less expressive. But at lower level, it feels less rigid than Tekken does. Tekken is almost like, whenever I think of it, it's like Super Smash Bros. Melee. How at low level of play, the movement is very rigid, feels kind of clunky, everything feels hard to control, but it's still fun to press buttons in. But then once you get higher level, the movement becomes smoother with tons of player expression, and that's what makes Tekken beautiful. That is the beauty of Tekken at like high level play, and the beauty of Melee at high level play. Lots of expressiveness, even in the movement, not just in your attack choices and defensive and offensive patterns, right? But even a game like Virtua Fighter has very different movement to a game like Soul Calibur or a game like Tekken, right? All the 3D fighters, though they share some similarities and there's a lot of things you can do in between to like make the games like kind of accessible on the low end, they all feel different once you delve into the core mechanics. It's the same reason why you'll see people who like Street Fighter, right? But don't generically also like all other 2D fighters. They don't like the Mortal Kombats of the world, the KOFs of the world, DNF Duels, the Guilty Gears and the Guilty Gear Strives, right? Strive is very different even mechanically from other Guilty Gear games, right? Game feel is something that can make or break a game for a singular person or a type of people, right? But I really never like to mention game feel as a reason why I think a game sucks, right? I have personal opinions about safe movement in 3D fighters and why I don't like it, and I don't think it's inherently healthy. But if asked, hey, is Tekken cool? I'm like, yeah, Tekken's super cool. It's not for me. That's what I've been trying to say more recently. Is a game's like at a high level, at competitive level, isn't for me. But am I going to go in at the low end and mash buttons and have a good time? Absolutely. I love fighting games. They're sick. And I think this can kind of go for any genre, right? You'll see a lot of people liking Overwatch, but not liking other hero shooters that still exist. There's really only one other hero shooter that I can think of right now that still exists, and that's Paladins. Or vice versa. People really like Paladins, myself, but don't really like Overwatch, myself, right? Even things along the lines of, you know, the more... Oh, I guess you could consider Valorant a hero shooter, right? Valorant's kind of a hero shooter. It's like a mix of a hero shooter and attack shooter, right? Even in the more arcadey shooter genre, Call of Duty to Battlefield. Very different game feels. Very different mechanics, even though at the base level, you are holding a gun in a first-person view and shooting at other people holding guns in a first-person view. That's it. That's the very basics of the games. Make them sound so similar, but then at a high level, they become, or even once you've understood a little bit more about the mechanics, they become completely different games. And all that does is it just makes for a more diverse and broad selection for gaming as a whole. So, am I mad or upset that I don't like the game feel of Tekken 8? And that some people may not like the game feel of Tekken 8, even if they came from other 3D fighters. No. It just means that it's not for everyone. And that's okay. Not everything can be for everyone. Luckily, there's other games on the market you can play. Maybe they're not as popular, maybe they're not as big, but you can still play them and have a good time. You could even play Tekken 8 and have a good time, as long as you don't completely, fundamentally disagree with everything going on in the game, right? That's how I don't end up playing certain platform fighters, even though I'm a big fan of platform fighters. I don't play them all. You guys never see me play any, really. I really only play them when I'm asked. And there's certain ones you couldn't pay me to touch again. Anyways, that was just a quick little talk about game feel in fighting games. Are there any games that a lot of your friends like that you don't like specifically because you don't like the feel of them? Tekken 8, Guilty Gear Strive, Street Fighter 6, Mortal Kombat 1. Leave it down in the comment section down below. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, share this video with a friend, hoping to get to 1,000 subscribers at some point. And I appreciate you guys for watching. This has been Beanie Thuggish signing out and saying peace.